Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome in. Hey, Brian Harmon, Slayer 1, and Mega Cards. Thank you all for being here with me today. It's been, it's been a whirlwind. Just getting some last second stuff reset here. I've had one heck of a good troublesome time messing with my streaming setup for about the last week. I kind of mentioned it in the last stream I was able to pull off before that system went into complete meltdown and crashed out on me. Hey, Artemio, thanks for coming in today. Good to see you. That's exciting. I didn't know Artemio would be here. Welcome, everybody. Just getting again some last second things set up. I'll go through what was a very busy week last week. I can't believe it. I actually looked back, and I've had to work every day since the holiday, which is fine. I'm glad to be able to have that kind of work coming in. But so since July 5th till the 17th, I've been working every day, so I've been like losing track of time a little bit. So I went through and fixed 4 CRTs last week, PVMs, and that's what we're going to go through here. Now my boiler just kicked on, but I think my mic's doing good of blocking that sound out, so we're not going to worry about that too much. Absolutely, Artemio, community effort indeed. So Artemio, most of you already know, is the mastermind behind all this amazing software that we have to calibrate these screens. And I know that I wouldn't be able to do half the things that I can do without the things that he provides. So I'm a big supporter of his work. Love it. So thank you, Artemio. All right, so first things, what you see here is the Sony PVM 1350 first off. That's this monitor, and it's been running great since that restoration, which most of you guys would have seen in, that pickup video I had, which most people watched. And then there was a video I released last Friday that was a follow-up on this particular monitor and how we got it fixed. It's all ready to go. It's completely good. Everything on it. Power supply's been serviced. The neck board's been serviced. And of course the deflection board. The 14-inch plate fork. All right, we have some more people rolling in here. Let me get back to this view where I can at least have myself in the discussion here. So yeah, just to follow up on a couple things from that shipping video, if I wasn't clear on it. There was a 14M, this was the most depressing one of all those. I was really, really hoping that the 14M4U was going to make it, because I felt like it was in good enough condition where I could make a decent CRT out of it, because I was going to do a full restoration on it. And I was really hoping things were going to be good, because the seller was very communicative. Like, would answer any question pretty much immediately. But the problem was, so here's what happened. I sent out an offer to where it was going to cost me $500 total to have it shipped to me. It was a 14M4U that was tested working. Didn't really show much on the condition of the picture or anything. It was just one of those that had the menus pulled up on the picture. And I sent an offer, and sometimes I was like, the seller's not going to accept this offer, because I think it was like $150 less than they were asking. And they accepted it. And I was a little bit bummed because I was leaving town like the next day. So I sent the seller a message. I said, hey, I really want this monitor if you want to do this deal, but I have to have you hold the shipping. I don't care if you mark it as shipped in eBay if you need to, but please do not ship it till this certain date. That way I know I'll be there. And FedEx or UPS, I can't remember who had that one. I think it was UPS. They won't have it an extremely long time. So he says, oh, yes, I promise I'll have it. I'll wait, I'll pack it, and I'll send it to you when you're on your trip. Well, next thing I know, I'm out of town, and it's like 4 days before the date I asked him to ship it, and it's marked as shipped. And I was like, what the heck? What the heck just happened? So I reached out and I said, hey, did you ship this? Because I asked you not to, and you said you would hold it. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, I did ship it. And then I knew it was going to be kind of troublesome from there, because then UPS had it already. There was no way to get it back from them. So they held it in like a ground shipping warehouse that's near here. I say near here, but it's 2 hours drive from where I live in Virginia. And so, of course, the monitor was set to arrive before I was even coming, before the date I even gave him to ship it. And so he had to call and have it held. And of course, it was packed in that terrible box, and it didn't survive. So it was a double whammy. So anyway, it was a guy, because I saw the shipping label. He, again, was very communicative, but I told him, I was like, man, once it showed up in that terrible box and I unboxed it and it was all busted, I was like, I am not keeping this unless he's like completely donating it for parts. So I just sent a message, or I put in for a return. Right when that happened, I file for return, and you could do that by going into your eBay purchase for that item, clicking return, and it'll say reason, because a lot of people don't accept returns. But if you click on there that it was damaged in shipping, which is one of the options, it starts a return no matter what. So I start that, I send him pictures, and then I send him a message. I say, I don't know what happened, man, but this package was not done right. And it was obviously sent in the wrong scheduling, but it's no good, and I don't want it, and I want my money back. And he said, okay, no problem. I just need you to ship it to me. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. You really want this thing back? I didn't say anything, but that's how the return went, right? It was like eBay offered me a return label and said you could ship it back, and then once it arrives within a week after arrival, or 3 or 4 days, we'll give you a refund no matter what. So he sends me a label. Hey Dell, how's it going? And James Boone, Marv, Janik, Roll Pat, Stefan C, Plate Fork. Thank you everybody for showing up. So again, we're talking about the first M4U that was in my shipping video about eBay unboxings, the one that was destroyed, kind of some backstory on it. So I'm in the middle of a return with eBay. They send me a label. The problem is, you saw the box. If you go back and watch that video, it's this terrible box of just like a used box that was a $1 box to begin with. And I had to rip it down the side to get the monitor out of it. It was filled with packing peanuts. Now, thankfully, I had a used box that was a little bigger, but they said to ship it back, and I was like, how? I can't. If I bought this, how am I supposed to ship this back unless I have another box? So thankfully, I had a bigger box. I opened that box. It was a used box. It was one of the ones that the 2030s in the next part of that video was shipped in. It was the better one of those two. I took the whole thing, just put it in that box, added some more packing peanuts because he loved them so much. And then I just closed it up, put a label on it, the label they gave me, and I took it and I had to go drop it off at my own at a FedEx store. And I just dropped it off, said, here's the label. They started asking me questions. I said, I don't know. Give me a receipt saying you took it. It's got a label on it. And because I was at this point kind of frustrated, right? You know, you have to do all that extra things. So I did all that. The monitor was shipped back to him. I never heard anything until literally like the day before you can ask eBay to generate the refund. Like there's a date the seller has to generate the refund by once they receive the package in returns. If they don't send it, you can tell eBay and they'll just take it right out of their account. So that's ultimately what happened. The day before the deadline, he paid me back the money and I never heard from it again. And that will kind of lead into the second one. If you remember, then there were the two 2030s. One came in good shape. One I did want to kind of return, but I wound up keeping. That had a little bit more damage and cracks and stuff to it and was missing the power button. But when I reached out for a return on that one, it was the same deal. The seller wouldn't do anything besides take a full return for me to ship it back to him. And so I just said, forget it. I'm actually going to keep that one and I'll just fix it and give him bad feedback. So that's what I did. I gave him bad feedback for it because they were just kind of a pain in the neck to deal with too. But that's a little follow up there. And then there was this 1350, which showed up perfectly, but it was, it had all the issues, but it's been a fun repair. That was number one though on the repair list from the repair-a-thon from last week. Hey Koala Koa, thank you for coming in. I've got a BVM here from him that we'll get working on this week. But so that's it. Also, please remember that I will be live at Retro World Expo this August. So we're getting really close to this. We're like 5 or 6 weeks away, which I'm really excited about going there. I will be at the convention hanging out on the coattails of Bob from Retro RGB and everybody within that group. And I'm sure I'll be around, like My Life of Gaming, I think will be there. So I'll be hanging around with them, and Tito from Macho Nacho, he'll be there. So I'm sure I'll see him and a lot of other people that I'm not entirely sure who's coming, who's not coming, besides who's already announced on the list. And so I will be there. And if anybody can be there, I hope you can make it and come say hello and hang out. And this PVM that you see is probably, I don't know whether it's going to be there or not, because I'm about to list it as a sale item for sale. Oh, great. Awesome. Koala. Glad to see that. Says he'll be there. So I'm excited because if this one sells before then I'll try to find a different one to bring. I'm definitely going to bring some PVMs with me to play games on at the tables in the convention. So I usually just bring stuff and then piggyback off somebody else's power. So hopefully somebody's going to be there in a booth near us this year so we can steal their power and not have to pay for it, because this convention last year, I know it, they were making you pay extra like $150 to use their electricity. And Laser Bear was there, was nice enough to give me a plug. So we were able to use his power. But isn't that crazy? They charge you extra for electricity. I can't remember the exact amount. I want to say it was like $150 or something. Might have been $75, not sure. But anyway, if this is available, it will be there. And if not, something else will be there. So we've got that ready. But that's another event announcement. Retro World Expo in Hartford, Connecticut, last weekend in August. Come hang out. Now, before we get into some actual files here, I need to open them up on my secondary screen over here. And while I was setting up for today's show, I was trying to get the camera adjusted for, gosh, just focus on the CRT that you're looking at. And I was using a different camera. I was using this. Now this camera's fine generally, but the problem is it takes so much, it's like so much assets are allocated to it when you're using it that my streams don't work with it. It's been crashing my systems because I have like 4 cameras set up here, and I'm using oh my goodness, how many USB devices am I even using? A lot. They're all running through USB. We've got 2 monitors set up, and yeah, 3 different USB cameras systems. The Focusrite audio system runs ultimately through USB, and then you plug this guy in, and it's like, you know, just every time crashes the system. So I'm not sure. I'm putting that away. That one's not coming back. And just thought I'd show off this old shirt. Look at this. I pulled this out of storage. This is a seriously classic Grateful Dead t-shirt that I bought before I graduated even high school, when I was on spring break in Panama City, Florida, when that was the cool thing to do, was go to Panama City, Florida, and buy yourself, you go to these hemp shops with things down there and buy yourself a $50 t-shirt. Now this one's a mess. You can see it's got holes, both armpits. Literally almost 25 years old, this shirt. But I wanted to bust it out today because why not? It's so awesome looking, right? Kind of like how I feel spaced out in my head after dealing with things. Hey, Cat Crasher, thanks for joining. Yeah, I stream. We stream here. We're trying to get on a schedule. So that's another thing that I'd like some feedback on. How many of you guys and gals and how many of you actually watch the stream of My Life in Gaming? Are there a lot of you? Hey, Travis. Yeah, still fits barely, right? So let's see here. What was I in the middle of? Yeah, how many guys, if you guys, I was thinking about on Sundays streaming kind of before those guys go online with their streams, maybe doing like a pre-show. I'm not sure. I thought that would be a good time to like get some streaming numbers up. And I see some of you guys do. Thanks. It's like, I was thinking that would be a good time as like a pre-show for them. So I'm going to try that a couple times, I believe, coming up. It's just really, I've got to get this system stabilized. I think it's going to work. And then it just crashes out. Like I said, I believe I have it nailed down to that camera issue because I've built 3 different PCs and they kept crashing. And I was like, you know what? It must be this camera at this point. So that was just a question. If you think about that, hey, Shane, thank you. We'll do that. We'll try that streaming schedule. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to look more. I had some really great things happen last week as far as work in the shop. So obviously we had the 1350 you've been seeing. It's good. But let's go back to this first job. And usually when someone does a job with me, they get a file like this nowadays. If I did work for you a couple years back or over a year ago, I probably haven't done this, but now I have to pay for cloud storage space so I can host thousands of pictures and files. And it's all just basically a Carfax record of people's PVMs. So for example, this first job was on a set of just boards. And this is what you usually get, a service notes bulletin, kind of explaining all the things that were done in your repair or restoration, the date that it happened, some notes, go through this in a little bit. If we go back here to the file, let me show you we'll go through the timeline here first. So let's look at some lovely photos. These were the boards that were sent to me. This is a set of boards from a Sony PVM 14L2 monitor. And that is a PVM that is one of the last PVMs. I've featured it many times on the channel on both streams recently, as well as full-length videos. So there's not a lack of content. If you type in Sony PVM L2 into YouTube, you'll find some good explanations of all the good things about this monitor. But what had happened is, this was around May, middle of May. I was receiving messages from a Patreon member, and he said, I have a 14L2 and I would like to do the cap kit on it. And I said, well, that's good timing, because I literally just restoring this other 14L2 with a cap kit, and it was, I consider it the experimental phase, where I haven't done that particular cap kit on more than 5 14L2s. I think we're just getting right now to the 5th 14L2 that I've done it on. And that means that it's more of in like the beyond just experimental phase, because until it's been done enough, it's kind of one of the reasons I put up the wall of being a Patreon member to get cap kit lists. Those lists, you know, you take that list and it's up to you to do things correctly, right? Or to take that list, and then a lot of times you got to compare that list with your actual board, and there may be something different on your specific board that's on the cap list. And if it's not mentioned as being a switch from that part that you see on your board, there's a good reason that you should keep whatever's on your board and just replace that if it looks like it was installed in the factory. So that's just like some warnings. You got to really have some knowledge a little bit and know your way a little bit around electronics, really, before you should try to get into a job like this. Because this was a gentleman who basically jumped head first into a CRT restoration and just got a little bit too far in over his head to begin with. And he got the cap kit and had the tools and went in and installed the capacitors. It's not even a big cap kit on this particular monitor, but he installed the capacitors. And when he did, he said he installed the monitor back, or put the monitor back together. And when he did, he heard a pop, and then it didn't turn on again. And so I got the boards in, and one of the very first things I checked was I took my multimeter, and this picture doesn't make a lot of sense here to begin with, but what it is it's Q1506, which is, I don't need to do that, which is the main hot transistor. So that's the horizontal output transistor, which is like one of the main 5 parts that has to be working for PV or any CRT to be powering on. That's a color CRT that has horizontal sync, or horizontal picture at all. It's got to have this hot working. So there's the bad one. There's the good one. Now the first thing I did was the boards came in like they were. And the hot is right down here, and I'm circling it with my cursor right now. And I took my multimeter and I put it in continuity mode, which is a simple mode to test. This is a good test for people to try out. You put your meter, this is a nice meter, I will admit. I bought myself a nice meter. I love good tools, so you don't have to have this meter. For years, I used a much cheaper $30 one I got from the hardware store. But you put it in continuity mode, and all that simply does is gives you a beeping noise and an ohms reading when you're tracing down something. And if there's continuity, you know that the trace is connected. So I put this in continuity mode, and I probed every one of the legs before I even removed it from the chassis. Every one of the legs back here on this hot, the bad one. So I just touched it, and everything beeped. So everything was open. There was nothing closed. Everything was connected in sequence. That told me it was blown, because if I tested a good one, it would not act like that at all. Most of these ways would be closed. There may be 1 or 2 ways open, pathways, but I knew then that this part was at least blown. My next concern was what caused that to blow, and ultimately, is there anything else bad before it, right? So after I knew this was bad, there it is, removed. Now to remove it, you simply desolder it here, and then you remove that screw right there on the heatsink and pull it off. Okay, there's the underside of that part. And the vias right there. So I could take my multimeter and literally plug these holes with that part in and see that they were all in the same continuity path. Now, I did inspect some more. And these two caps were... This is where we got into the user error. These two caps were in the cap kit list, but they had been installed in the wrong spots. And this one, the 220-25, was in a crucial spot where the capacitor was completely different. I want to say it was like a 50 volt 10, and this 25 volt 220 was installed. And then the 25 volt 100 was installed in a spot where it called for a 50 volt capacitor. So I found that those two were wrong. I removed them and installed the correct capacitors. And then I checked all the solder points and everything looked fine. But one of the last things I had to do, and there's an installation of that new Q chip right there. I installed a new hot. But what I had to go around and do on the rest of this board after that was I had to keep my meter in continuity mode and then check for grounds, shorts to ground. So there's always grounds on these boards, and they're all connected in like a ground loop. So you should be able to put a point of your multimeter on a ground and then connect it to another place on the board and check if there's continuity. If there's continuity and you look at it, it should say it's a ground. If there's continuity and it's not a ground, then that's a possibility for your part being bad. That means it's shorting to ground, literally. So that's how you do that. You systematically go through and you check all the ends of all the components, pretty much on the other side of the board. But that's it. So there's that capacitor I reinstalled. That's the new one, 50 volt 100. And this was the other capacitor that was in the wrong. It was a 50 volt 100 and it was a 220. Just looking at the bottom there's the boards all fixed up. And this was really the best part of this. So I had no idea. I did all that checking to grounds. I didn't find a single part that was shorting out. So you'll notice that in the service notes, I told the client, I don't know if this is going to work because I don't have the monitor with me. I said you could power this thing up and it just won't come on for all I know. But thankfully, he powered it up and it worked. And again, just sent in the boards. I repaired them and this was the aftershot I got. And the monitor's been working great, he said, since. So, this was a lucky one. This one was one where the boards weren't so bad and I could actually save it. I was able to find the problems. However, I've had the same thing happen where people have shipped me boards before. We've not been able to find the exact error, or we've made repairs and they've gotten damaged in shipping, on return shipping. And it's something that probably could have been avoided by, if you are going to do a repair on a CRT, you need to progressively get up to this. You don't need to just start on your PVM. Try something that's a little less valuable. And that's just a little bit of tips on there. So that's pretty much it for the 14L2. Did anybody have any questions about that? That was again one where we had a board issue and it was just the boards being sent to me. Let's go back here and look at the service notes quickly. Here's the service dates of 7/6. And just to give you an idea of what these look like, let's zoom in a little bit. How about that? Pre-testing diagnosis, parts found to be bad. Like I said, Q1506. Installed the new parts found to be installed incorrectly. Those two capacitors, installed the new capacitors, reworked solder on all the other capacitors, cleaned the board, checked for faults and shorts, no more found, checked the neck board, everything is good on that. I think everything sounded pretty professional until I got to that line. I spent a couple of special notes here. I spent a couple hours working on the boards, did a lot of component testing, found one bad transistor. I also found some spots on the board that needed solder, working reflow. I repaired those solder joints. I found 2 capacitors from the repair kit list that were incorrect values from the kit. I removed those, installed the proper value capacitors. I did a final component check on the board and could not find any other shorts or issues. Please note, I can't guarantee this repair on this PVM. Blah, blah, blah. I told you all that. Hey, Abes. Good to see you. Yes, Marv, great point. 99% of the delicate electronic work like this truly is making sure you use the right parts, going back together, not shorting to ground while soldering. Absolutely. Because unfortunately, when it comes to electricity, if there's a short that's not supposed to be there, you know, all it takes is one time of turning it on and you can blow out stuff that sometimes you can't save the item. So it's just a great point right there. I recommend that you always go back and triple check your work. I do it still. And I do this all the time. I did 4 repairs in a week. So, or 4 different CRTs in a week. And every time I go over and check them, as much as I can. So always before you put power into it. And that's why you see me, I clean the board so much. That's so I can give a good inspection. You guys often asked about, I get often asked about cleaning. Yeah, James. Definitely good to start with consoles. And I would even start with something not as valuable as that. Because that's a tough one to do too, the PC Engine, because there's usually surface mount capacitors in there. So you may want to just go, I always recommend trying to find something that's just crap that you don't care about at all. And if it works, that's even better, and you can take it apart and test on it and just get yourself used to tooling, get yourself used to solder, used to temperatures and how to use your tools. You know, I often go to thrift stores with people, and you can find great items in thrift stores and secondhand pawn shops and things like that that are good candidates that cost less than $30 that you could still just work on. It has capacitors in it. Just needs to be something from like, the hunt is finding something from like the 90s. Lots of audio equipment, for example. There's always a lot of capacitors in there. You don't even have to buy new caps. You can just pull the old ones and replace them with the same caps. It's just getting the actual procedure down and experience. Because and then you have the other important side of that of trying to learn what a lot of these things are doing and learn your way around electronics. And that's something that takes an extremely long time. I'm not gonna lie. I have very little professional background in electronics beyond what I've done myself here with this business. I had a job for 2 years where I did have to do electrical work on it. And so that was it. But that was like right after college. That was a service job right after college. And then I basically didn't do it for 15 years. So you can always learn this. Thankfully, we have plenty of resources out there. But great questions. Thank you so much for those. Let's go on. We're on. So that's the first 2 of last week. And let's go down here. We're looking in the drive folder. The next one. Now, this was a fun one. Maybe we should go through the service notes just to talk about what was done on this one first. Because this one got a lot of servicing. This was a 1344 cube. And thank you, Chris, for bringing this in. Junk Duo. Good. That's good. If it's a junk duo for like $45, perfect. Or you can work your way up to that and try to actually fix it. But yeah, I've seen plenty of you guys posting pictures of your mods and stuff. I know, like on Twitter and stuff, and you know, you guys do great work. Some of you, most people don't post pictures of their work that's ugly, so you know. But there's some things that's always best to leave to professionals, and I honestly say that if there's nothing wrong, I got people who are some of the best in the world at what they do, and they send me their stuff, and vice versa. I'm not an expert on certain things, and I'd rather just send it to them and keep everybody in the community employed. All right, so here we go. Now, if you get, like I say, a PVM serviced in the shop, you get this notes, right? It's got your serial number there. And that way, you know, like if you ever sold your monitor, you can say, look, I had a specialty done. You could send, someone could be buying this CRT and send me an email and say, hey, did you do this work? And send me the sheet, or send me the serial number. And I'd say, yeah, you know what, I actually did. But anyway, 1344Q, here was the complaints on this one. Had a slight tube burn. Not a very big one, slight tube burn. And then worked, but, you know, it's a 1344Q. This is a 1989. You know, this is the year Michael Keaton was first playing Batman, I believe. It's like a long time ago for an electronics device. And so just some normal maintenance on this thing. So beyond that, we had the tube burnt. So this was, hey, Chris, you made it. We're talking about your PVM right now. So the 1344Q got a replacement tube installed that had no burn. And this was a tube that had really great emissions. Before my CRT tester took a crap on me, and I think I'm going to, speaking of sending that out, I want to talk to Andy King about sending that tester to him, try to have him look at it. But so there was an issue where we wanted to change in a new tube. Thankfully, I had a tube, and again, that was tested high on the emission scale, had no burn. So I was able to install that tube and do all these other things. We're going to look at the service file, though, from this one. And we'll open that at the end like we did last time. So this was what the monitor looked like. This is going to be a good before and after look at it. So this is the 1344Q. Right here as it was in the shop. And good monitor. Here's, again, you could tell this monitor, the number on here matches the paperwork. Hey, P.O. Thanks for coming. Now, this is one that has this anode cap that's epoxied, you'll notice, right? Remember that? Okay. So that has to be dealt with. And then all the boards need to be serviced in here. This is what it looks like again at the beginning. There's even a little bit of rust peeking through that I did try to clean out best as possible on the shielding. Fortunately, I had no replacement shielding here for this one, or I would have just installed it. But you can look here. Again, we have this model number that matches our documentation. So anytime you see a tag like this, unless it's been swapped out for another part, it should match the same number. And there's a lot of times these parts are swapped. Let's face it, I had to swap it on the other one. I'll show you in a minute. So this was an interesting fact about this particular CRT. It has this crazy... Hey, Don Honk, yeah, it is. Today, we'll see what happens. We'll see if the PC stays up. Hopefully it will. I'm always hopeful. So this particular PVM has this crazy contraption on the side. This is an 80s thing. An 80s and early 90s thing the PVMs had. It's this like high voltage resistor assembly in this poured block filled with this gelatin that's hardened, that's protecting the circuit so you can't really get to it. And it intersects the flyback right in the middle. Now, this particular one is pretty solid. Doesn't have the problems that the other versions of this with this block do, like the 2530, but it is here. So that's why it looks different. It's mounted to the side. And this is what the tube looked like pre any adjustments. You can't really see the burn. It's really difficult to take pictures of solid screens and get burn pictures unless they're pronounced. And this one was pretty light. So that's what it looked like before we got started with it. Now, an important part here, the CRT replacement, right? So first thing, I took a picture of these points. You have to remove all this stuff, get it out. And you'll notice here, I had to cut away No one's going to like to hear this, but I had to cut away that that tube from the flyback. You see all that epoxy? And the way I did it was quite simple. Took this ESD. Look at this. Took this ESD set of tweezers. Just simple tweezers. And I literally shoved it right into that epoxy. And I slowly pushed it forward till I got to the point where there was no more epoxy and pushed up. And then you peel up, and eventually it just peels all away, and you just peel the rubber back. And as long as you're not stabbing into the actual cap itself over here, as long as you're not stabbing that rubber and you're just penetrating this epoxy, or not epoxy, it's like silicone. As long as you're just penetrating that, you penetrate that, and under there, you slide it around a little bit, and you just peel that off. And eventually it comes off, and you can break that away. So, they're not usually epoxied on, thankfully. This was just something that, again, was done. It is on, like, the 8-inch ones, surprisingly. Some models really have it epoxied a lot. So, anyway. That was something that I know I've never shown, and I've not really done before. So the old tube, again, pulled out. Here's the new tube, spruced up, cleaned up. There's the insides. Now this is a great opportunity to get in here and clean all this out, which was done. All cleaned up, ready to reinstall. There's the boards back there hanging out by the Sony 20-inch flat screen right there. You see it? And there's that stupid tube tester that's been blown out since about 6 weeks. Oh, goodness. Anyway, there's the new tube installed. You could tell that it had the epoxy on it too at some point, because let's face it, there's no way to find really... You would never find... you might find a new old stock of this tube, but this wasn't a new old stock. It was just a replacement tube. Reinstalled. Did clean off that shielding a bit to get some of that rust off, but there it is. There it is, shining like a bright diamond. Yes, everybody, a bright diamond. So that's what we were looking at. Now, before I put everything back together, I had to get in here and service these circuit boards. And this is a picture of all those primary boards that got serviced. Okay? Specifically, things I'm going to point out on here are things that you should watch for on this board. Okay? We're going to talk a little bit of our way through servicing this board. But that's it. Oh, Norgan said they recapped their for 8 hours their 20M2. Congratulations. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate everybody watching. Hey, if you're enjoying today's stream, having fun, do me a favor, just hit the like button for me today. That way we can get some notice. It's a Monday. Everybody's supposed to be back at work normally where I'm at, so I do not imagine you know, our numbers are going to be huge on this stream, but I just want everybody to kind of know that they're back. So we still got a little bit more work to go through here too before we do anything. So there's all the boards. All right. This up in the right hand corner above my head at the top. This is a daughter board that connects right. Yes, right here on the side of this main board, which you'll notice has the flyback and that goofy transistor, or sorry, I don't know why I call it transistor, resistor. Yes, PO. Absolutely, my friend. And here we go is the power supply. This was all reworked. So let's start with a quick look at the original neck board here. Definitely dirty. Definitely seeing its fair share of work here. I don't know if we can zoom in too much, but you'll notice some of these. This is always a big point of emphasis. This could be on any electronics, okay, folks? It doesn't have to be a CRT. This is the issue we'll be running through in these old things, everybody. But you'll train your eyeballs to do things. You'll train your eyeballs to look places over time. This all comes from experience. And what we're looking at here is the backside of this neck board and the CRT socket. Something that hasn't seen any servicing since production in 1989. But if we look very closely at these pins, just look at how compromised the solder is on here. I wish I could get closer, but it looks like, honestly, that's as close as I can get with this browser. Look at it. But for example, look at the red. Here's the, so if we look K, right? So this is our G1 voltage. See how that's tied together on the same loop? That's high voltage, folks. That will bust your ass if you touch it. Okay? You got H1 over here, which is more along convergence focus stuff. G2 voltage, high voltage. G1, G2. Okay? But over here, these top three pins, they are your colors. Start with a K, though, instead of a C. Color blue, color green, color red. And if you see, it's maybe hard to see on the screen, but I hope you can. There's little dots around every one of these. Some of these look way worse, like this blue, this green, this red. All it would take is you buying this CRT, using this for a year, and these solder points will eventually just fail. Just fail. And then you'll lose color. So this all has to be, and with the neck board, I actually go and reflow solder on every component here. Every single one of them. Because there's other parts that can fail. Any of these hot parts, look at this G4 right here, this could fail. Hey, Belmont, thanks for coming. Yeah, the gap between 8 and 9 are just insane. Oh my goodness. That's awesome. Hope everything went good. I was getting these crazy short videos from somebody pouring or making fun of people pouring concrete. It's like home concrete jobs, and it made me cringe. You talk about bad stuff. I mean, we're talking about bad possible circuit board rework. I can't believe some of the ways people were like pouring their back patios and the junk they were trying to put in it, the lack of like sub-grade work they were wanting to do. Wow. Yeah, let's hope Koala Koa. Let's hope this is why, but that's just, that's definitely a reason. Now, sometimes you'll look up here, check it out. Like you can physically follow the colors, right? And see if these parts are shorted or if the solder's bad. Right here, you got a resistor and you could test that resistor. If that resistor's failed, then your color could also go out. So you got color green, right? It's being sent here to the tube, but it's coming from this line. So it's got to go through this resistor. It's got to go through all these parts, and it's ultimately coming from one of the major transistors on here. You could even physically follow this. I'm not sure which one. This is probably blue over here, green, and red over here. So like these main board parts, like this Q708, those can go bad, those transistors right there, and cause you to have a... Yeah, actually, if you go back and watch, I had a good story about this shirt. Thanks, man. Yeah, but I bought this at a Panama City smoke shop in like the year 2000 or 99, something like that, while I was on spring break in high school. So, good shirt. Anyway, there's a lot that can happen on this board. A lot that can happen that you should just prepare yourself to service this on a CRT. Okay? Thankfully, it's an easy one to service. Here's the top side of this board. If you'll notice here, it's got the new caps installed. I know that. I can tell just from the picture. There's not, look at that. There's only one capacitor on this particular board. So generally this board for a Sony PVM will have anywhere from 1 to at most like 7 capacitors on it. But most of them have 1 to 4. So it's not a big recap job, obviously. But the important thing is to go in and reflow the solder. So again, I'm sorry for the resolution on these photos. It's not hugely good, but you could definitely see how like the difference here on color red, green, and blue. So a nice big solder on there. Nice big fresh solder on there. And this requires sometimes removing that old solder, but look at the board all over, right? Everything has fresh solder. Every point of contact has been soldered and cleaned and inspected. And really, doing this is, it just breathes new life into this electronics where it's probably going to, this board will last as long as possible. 20 years if it properly maintained. This is from a 1344Q. So if we look in here, I will give you a couple of tips. Do not come in here and keep your solder point on any of these points too long. Okay? Because you can run through this and there's plastic involved. And if you heat that up too much, you could actually melt the plastic on the ring and compromise that on the other side of the board. Let's see if I have a picture of that side. Oh, just before we get out of here. Yes, see, that's the socket. You can actually melt the plastic and compromise that. And I've also seen where you melt the horizontal static convergence plastics, and then your focus doesn't work as well. Or I'm sorry, that's convergence, not focus. So you'll have beams not aligning properly. Hey Dan B, hey Ace, thank you everybody for showing up. Senely Deluxe. And in a second here, after we get done with this restoration, I'll go through and answer some questions on it. But we're still working our way through the main boards now. So that's the C board. There's the back of it again. I think I have a couple more photos just so you could see how that solder reflow looks. Just wonderful. Happy little components ready to energize your tube. So now look at the top side of that board. Fresh capacitor. Just one again. Now this board again is that A daughter board. I don't like that. Anyway. So not getting recapped, okay? Not a recap because the caps weren't bad, surprisingly. So what I am more concerned with though are the connection points on all these major components, right? So this connection point right here, this connection point right here, those are vital areas where information and voltages and all kinds of stuff is sent so this board can communicate and function with the main board. And it needs to be maintained and serviced. So again, on something this old, the important thing is solder quality. And I went through and inspected the solder because I did not, you could tell a difference. For example, I did not have to go through and reflow solder on all the components on this board. The connectors, yes. See how the connectors are glowing and have more fresh solder on them? That's a stupid fly. How does a fly sneak in the basement? There's not even a door to this basement. Thanks, Belmont. Look at that. So you could tell that. You could also see up here where this has fresh solder. So it's spot resoldering. This board just gets a cleaning and inspection. Not generally a problems with this board. This is your input board, QB board. Nice clean, though. We definitely clean it. Thank you, Abe. Hello, Noah. Noam. Welcome. And so that's the end of the QB board. I hate to run over it so quick, but there's not a lot unless you're doing something where you know a part is specifically bad here. Thankfully, you can test most of these because this is kind of a pain in the neck to take apart. It's in layers, and if there is a component bad in here, it's a nightmare. Now on to the power supply, which you have big, huge filter caps in and a bunch of small sporadic caps throughout. Let's see, where were we? I just clicked on the out button. Right. So if you notice again, these caps are cleaned, pulled, and tested, the large caps. And if they pass the test and inspection, I'm not replacing them generally. Not always, but generally speaking, not so much. But you can see right here, we'll look at this 613. This was just an example of a capacitor that's obviously gone bad on the board. Left some residue there. Okay. Another capacitor removed here. Another view of that board. And this looks like a view of the board without capacitors installed before I've really worked on it much. Yeah, see, I could see my empty holes. I've removed the components. Board's still really dirty. And, alright, so I contradict myself. This particular big one I did replace because I had a superior one in stock, so I actually did replace that one. There you go. I might have. There's another, but there's another example. See, look at the residue here. Now, there's a possibility this is flux residue. Same thing over here. There's the new caps installed, including the Boog snap-in. Now, this is another board. When it's this age, you can tell from the bottom here, it's got a complete solder reflow. Solder reflow and cleaning. Look how much cleaner that is. It looks like beautiful. But again, something that's very important, like a power supply, it needs to have good continuity, good clean solder. And there it is, back in the spot, baby. Ready to work. So that was the power supply. So this is about, this is like the works, what we call the works here. Unless you're doing just a full recap of every part, which you saw in one of my last streams was about the FW900, just got like a full recap. This is a pretty standard works. You know, you're getting a new tube, you're getting everything properly checked out and preventatively maintained and parts exchanged. But tell this board's very dirty to start with. This is this is your adjustment area on the monitor. This is what you get. That's right, fully internal, no service menu on this model. And that's pretty much all there's to this. These other pods control things you don't want to change about your blanking. So what do we have? We have horizontal size. We have pin amp, right? Oh, this is vertical size. I always forget it. So the blue one on the top right here, I'm circling, that's horizontal. This is vertical. That's size adjustment. So it makes it bigger and smaller. Then you have pin amp and screen bow and vertical linearity and then vertical center. And this is one right here, this blue one, you don't generally need to adjust this at all. It's horizontal blanking, okay? And that has to do with more with your sync and your information outside of your picture. So do not adjust this particular one unless you know what you're doing. And then on the bottom row, you do have 4 potentiometers you'll need. Video phase is actually horizontal center. That's all that is. It's a fancier name. I don't know why it's called video phase, but if I was in the business a long time, I'd probably know. This right here changes a vertical angle, this next one. And this is pin phase. And pin amp was up here, right? So that's like your squishing, expanding corners. Oh, I'm sorry, Gimlod here. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, hopefully so. Get better soon. All right. Just look at the, I mean, after, what do you expect, I guess, after such a long time from 89, but there's a lot of nasty stuff just built up in this monitor over time, and these heat sinks, all these capacitors. So you're getting a standard cap kit of every deflection capacitor first off. But then we'll spot check these other ones to make sure they're good. And I also found this part to be bad on the chassis right there, which is just a little indicator bulb. And I don't know that the monitor would work without it or not, because I didn't attempt to try to use it. So I got a spare one off a parts board and installed it. But this was all the bad caps and maintenance caps. Gone, removed. And then here it is with all those parts out, getting ready to be cleaned up and have new caps installed. But the deflection cap section is standard to get them all changed. I wouldn't really, even if they test good, I'm getting rid of them. So that's just standard. That's every one of these caps in this area. All those that you saw before gone. And that way I can get in there and clean around those parts also. Again, more parts gone. Lots of caps gone on this board. And then there's some that are like audio caps. Like these are audio caps. All these. So they're not, you know, and in blue only mode. So like getting no heat, no attention, barely any usage, and they work fine. So it's not, that's why those aren't changed out just for the heck of it. Back of the board after cleaning. Getting ready to install the new capacitors, and this would be after the new capacitors are installed. Because again, lots of solder being reflowed on this board. Lots of cleaning. There it is. Sea of red on that board. New caps installed. New caps installed. Cleaned up and ready to go. And that's it for the board servicing. The only thing I will mention further is if you go back and you're looking, you definitely 1000% reflow solder on these points. These potentiometers. You could very easily get a crack in that solder also. Okay? Thank you, Belmont. Rust, oh man, rust, you got to either use a chemical compound or you got to use a brush and scrape it off. And then you can technically prime it, hopefully. But yeah, that's what they look like afterwards. And this is like, I love this is what you get when you get, you know, serviced in my shop. I send you all these photos with your monitor forever. So it's actually cool, I think. That's one thing I'm doing that most people don't want to do. Most people don't even want to work on these things anymore. Most electronic shops. So, all right. So that's enough of that. We got some quick lookage at this monitor now, and what it looks like after being serviced. Now, this was something I found to be so fascinating. So fascinating. I found this part out by accident. We talked in depth a minute ago. Right there about the flyback assembly with this resistor. Well, there's some ground points on here that are very vital. There's a ground screw right here, and that ground screw ties to the ground over here on the side of your shell and your shielding. And this right here, this is unbelievable to me. If you don't have this ground screw connected or it's loose, the monitor will turn itself off. It will literally disengage the power to your tube, and it does like a safety shutdown mode. All because of this ground point. I tested it 100 times. If you leave it screwed in, it turns on perfectly every time. If you unscrew it, leave it out, it will never power on. Unbelievable. So, just an insane thing that I discovered by accident. So I tried to test it without there, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I just said, well, let's just try to put the ground on, see if it'll work. I'd never seen that. But it happened with this one. The results were incredible. This is just a great monitor. For the age, I don't understand it. This one works so awesome. Once it gets tuned, it's really one of the best performing, most underrated models. And the thing that's a pain about it is everything's done manually. But the results on these are just amazing. Some versions of Mortal Kombat screenshots here. But look at the sharpness and field depth on this 13-inch monitor. I mean, goodness gracious, you can see everything just about. Sharpness is incredible. There you go. There's a look at the new 240p setup after adjustments. Got it set to a perfect aspect ratio. Try to really work on those corners. As we all know, convergence isn't something you usually get 150% right. You can get it about 90%, sometimes 95% in these corners. There we go. There's some edge convergence, some bottom convergence. I try to give these kind of shots so that the customer can understand what they're going to see. Hopefully when they get it back. I'd like to show this shot of the center and show how good the focus looks and the colors. Now this was something I wanted to show specifically to this client because he was again worried about screen burn, and usually these pictures were so hard to take without getting that flash line across the center of the screen, making it look like two different shades of a color, because these are just a single color screen. But I wanted to show this so you can see there's no purity issues on a tube reinstall, so that means no discoloration, and also you can really get a good idea that there is no screen burn on this tube with this type of a picture. There's red, there is green, solo green, and solo blue, and that's the angles are different, all because it's so hard to take that picture. And then finally white. White's the best to put on to see any kind of issues like what was I trying to say? Anything that is screen burn will be pronounced on a white screen like that. All white. That's a feature of the 240p test suite. And the best game pretty much to photograph is Super Metroid. I know there's like probably other good ones, but this is just one of the best. It's got backgrounds that are dark colored, so it photographs well. And the scan lines pop, good colors. Also, there's a lot of different things in the intro scenes. Like it cycles through a lot of different things that you can take good pictures of. So I've memorized the points when the screen freezes. I try to take photos of these points so you can get a good clarity and depth on here. These are unedited pictures from like my Galaxy 10 phone, okay? So it's not as if this is a good photograph representation. It's just is what it is. That way you can see like what you're going to expect in game. Oh, so beautiful. And I'm not sure what's going on here with our photographs. Let's go back. See, we were here. Looks like we were about to look at this one. Let's look at that. I mean, Samus, like, sometimes I sit back and I'm like, damn, how can we get a piece of hardware that looks this darn good? Like, how, after 25 years, we still have tech that looks this good. And you get I got new monitors around here that crap out after 18 months and never look this good. Never. It just blows me away how good of a piece of hardware these CRTs really, really were. So again, just some pictures of the finished chassis. Now I talked a little bit about this before. You notice my blue RTV silicone to hold convergence strips I added into place. Both sides added one. There's another look down from above. All neatly put back together and ready to go. Just an underrated monitor, really. I love buying these. I love buying these and working on them. And so, yeah, XXX, you're right. The brightness and motion clarity And the blacks are getting there with obviously OLED technology, but man, the blacks can be so good. Yeah, Hyper Sam, they're getting expensive now. This one's done. That's it. Let's go back and look at the service notes on it. We'll review those and then we'll see if anybody has any questions about it. This is a deep folder. It's got the full shebang. So this was something that was worked on throughout the week. It was opened all week, worked on. All right, Belmont. Good luck. Thank you. Guy wants 2K. Golly, which one are you talking about, Hyper Sam? What model? I mean, if it's not like something like a high-end working, guaranteed working BVM or PVM 20L5. And I guess we should talk about what currency you're talking about. Anyway, Bill, feel free to leave that. I'm about to get to questions here in a second for this one. Service notes, pre-testing diagnostics. A lot of these things are going to be the same for each monitor. Disassembly, cleaning, circuit boards maintained, completed. Boards are recapped. A little bit more information on that. Solder was reflowed. Circuit boards were cleaned and inspected. Circuit boards passed quality control. Installed the replacement CRT. Adjusted calibrated geometry, focus, landing, convergence, screen, brightness, colors, and more. Cleaned and bezel cleaned. The PVM was tested. I included a picture of the starting geometry. After that, I disassembled the whole monitor and cleaned everything. Then I removed your CRT and installed the replacement CRT. Then I serviced all your boards. I installed the capacitor, this capacitor kit for this PVM. This covers the power supply, neck board, and deflection board. I completely reflowed solder on the power supply, then reflowed on all the other boards on the vital components. I also found a part that was bad on the A board. I replaced that, which I showed you guys that little bulb. Once all the circuit boards were serviced, I cleaned them, installed them, and tested. Each function was tested on the PVM. It's all working as intended. And after the warm-up period, I adjusted the CRT for calibrations listed above. Top shape should last for a long time. And that's it for the servicing on our third CRT. And we'll move on here a second to our last one. Before I do that, what do you guys think? Let's see. Oh, NEC. Gosh. DM? I'm not sure that model. XMs and XPs are the ones I'm always referring to or hearing of. Okay. So, if you have any questions about that last restoration, otherwise we're going to move right through it. For the 1344Q. This was all between last... I don't know. These were all finished last week. All right, so some difference in qualities between NECs and PVMs. Yeah, I mean, I actually like NECs if it's a good one and it works better than PVMs, but they're hard to find. They're huge. Usually they have a ton of capacitors in them, and they're a pain in the neck to work on compared to these, just because of the sheer number of capacitors. But like some of the models are really, really great. Really great. They're great made. They have fans in them to keep them the temperature down, extends the life of components. They do a lot. Some of them do 480p and all analog stuff, really nice. Have a ton of inputs and outputs. It's a beautiful monitor, usually the really good ones. Man, there's also some really cool other ones. I found a cool RCA one that my friend was sending me. RCA made this amazing presentation monitor, but again, it's just finding them. All right, let's get into these. I'm sorry, I'm catching up on the chat here. Do you accept drop-offs, sir? Yeah, if you're a Patreon member, that's who gets to get. I mean, honestly, I only have time really most of the time to work on people that show up on Patreon. There's a lot of people there, so I work on their stuff. And then I work on commercial businesses stuff. There are commercial businesses that I do business with. The NECs are pickier about sync, that's true. There's also some PVMs that are a little bit... I know the feeling, Gimlod, spending too much money on stuff. I always try to buy my stuff at junk prices and fix it. Most of the time it works, not always though. Whenever you service a 40 series PVM, do you disconnect the one wire that mutes audio on RGB? Yes. There is one wire, you can look it up. It's on Andy King's website. It's really simple. I don't even disconnect it, you just cut it. Because all the wire does is it engages a mute mode. It engages a mute mode for the RGB input, so there's no audio input. But if you disconnect the line, then you can use the line A input for the speaker on there and actually get speaker access. So actually that's something I consider a modification. And if anybody wants to go back and for some reason re-engage the mute mode, all you'd have to do is strip that wire, reconnect it, put a sleeve on it or a heat shrink wrap, and it would be fine. But I always do that, yeah, because who doesn't want to have, at least to be able to use the speaker? Mohammed, any RGB shifter did you recommend? I don't know what you mean by an RGB shifter. And I'm sorry. What brand of capacitors are you using? I use all types that you can get from Mauser and DigiKey. I think we've talked about this a few times on streams. I don't particularly get hot for a certain brand like some people do. They get all crazy about Nishikon and Rubicon only. Of course I love those, but the other red brand is Worth Electronics, and I never found any bad reviews on Worth. I've been using them for 4 or 5 years, and I've not had any issues. I've checked out their data sheets. I've checked out their company because I was concerned too. And the problem is when we got into the parts shortage, which we're still semi-dealing with on these kind of components, you'll come into components like these that are out of life that never got restocked after 2021, 2019, 2021. There's so many of them got stripped, and not of them been made. There's plenty of great brands though. I mean, plenty of great brands. It can depend on the size of the capacitor. Some brands aren't good at big capacitors. But if you're getting into like a general capacitor, think about it, like a 50 volt 10 microfarad capacitor that's 105 degree temperature rated. That is a, what are we talking about here? Sorry. That is like a 2,000 to 5,000 hour lifespan. And it has a low ESR, low ripple current. And you're looking at them on all these data sheets, they test out just as good as a Nishikon. There's no reason to not use them. And on something that's so, so basic. It's like, again, you're talking about like Duracell batteries at this point. Are they really that much better than Energizer and Rayovac or something like that, or other good brands? But we're not going down into like that knockoff brand territory, right? We're still taking them with brands that are decent. A lot of brands like Panasonic. This is a great question though. And I don't want people to be afraid of using other brands of capacitors. Because if let's do this. These are, this is just an old pull cabinet that I have here in the shop. And this thing is great for storing capacitors. And like I said, sometimes you'll open up a drawer and you'll have all kinds of different capacitors in there. Different brands. Those are all the same values and relatively same ratings, but they're different brands and they're similar capacitors. But this is what I built up. It's just stocks of these parts based on what was available. So I actually could have capacitors in the shop when a repair is needed or restoration is brought in. And then after the job, I can go and replace those caps with the cap kit and not waste the time of having to wait for the parts to arrive. Can't always do that. But as long as it fits. Well, okay, Jackie, yeah, and I mean, that's a fine. It was just kind of a quick analogy. Hey, Stephen. Oh, okay. So Mohammed was talking about JAMA super guns. I don't use one of those, and I would just be very careful about the equipment that you're plugging in from an arcade directly into your PVM. Just to be careful, because it has known to short circuit the sync line on occasion. Not always, but it has happened. Extrons, yes, those are the ones to go with. That's a good advice, Shane. Thank you. Extron 202 RXI. Okay. But anyway, that's a good, and I'm sure that there's somebody who could debate me all day saying, oh, you should only use this brand of capacitor, but you know, we all know there's better stuff, like, or certain preferred things, but you can also get burned by that, right? Like being over loyal to one brand, and then down the road something happens and the brand's quality just nosedives, and it messes with your head, because then it's hard for you to get off that brand. So, hey, thanks, Zach. Thanks for coming. So that's it. Let's get on to our final. We'll move on here to the final of our thing today. Our final PVM run through on what we've had, and then maybe we'll do something else. I'll probably take a little break after this one, and then we'll come back and I'll bring in some toys and just keep going. I'm having a good time. I usually like to get about 40 to 50 people in the streams. I don't know how many are in here now, but this feels to me like a good session that if you want to come in and like sit down and try to learn things, have an open discussion, feedback, you know, I try to explain the work, kind of show it off in a way, and it would be nice if I could just do all this work in front of here, but this is, again, we're summarizing darn near like 50 hours of labor that is very hard to film. And so I like sometimes breaking it up with these kind of reviews. And I think a lot of people also do it like that too. Yeah, so some people are talking about PO17, talking about, which he has some great reviews on CRTs. You should check out his channel too. There's awesome different brands of CRTs. It doesn't have to be Sony. I think the Sony just sets a good standard on a Trinitron, and there's a lot of them that are just insane good. But at the same time, there's a lot of other great CRTs. Unbelievable stuff. It doesn't have to be a Sony. There's a lot of simple brands. I mean, and then there was some RCA, for example, made CRTs that are like low end, really low end, just RF things, all the way up to some of the highest ends. So you got full range on some of these companies. Mitsubishi, good one, yes. Thanks, James. Yeah, hopefully these are helpful. So we're going to move on now. We can move on to our file. And then I'll give you guys a little bit of a moment here. This was the last one. We got monitor pictures and restoration pictures. So let's start with the monitor pictures. Should we? This is what it looks like. Well, let's go to that afterwards, all right? All right, this one, again, had some things. It had... It had to have... I had to take the tube out of it. Tube had to be removed. So this was just set up pre-testing, but I had to take a tube out. And the only thing I can tell you is make sure you're ready to take a tube out when you do, and you've prepared everything, photographed everything, so you know where everything goes when it's done. But these are just pictures of the disassembly points. Look, there's another one of those ground points. Hey, Keith. Good, man. Good to see you. Looks like the streaming's back. Maybe we can get together. Now this is all dependent on the eBay thing of them being able to ship it. But Keith, I bought a 1340 PVM. So I got another 40 series. I actually got 3 40 series here that need to be restored. I got a 42. Or is it a 44? No, I got a 42Q, a 43MD, and then a 40. So we got to have something we can get together on. And it just need this system on the PC to stay strong on our streaming setup. I think we got it figured out what the problem was. So, just looking here, if you're looking at like your removal points, there's 4 screws to remove. You got to remove this to get, there's one down there, see it's peeking out there, and then there's 2 at the top. But you also got to remove your ground points here, right? You got to remove that screw. There's another green cable right here that has to be removed. Same thing at the top side. There's the ground screw right here, needs to be removed. And then there's your other bolt down there at the bottom of the picture. And then you carefully remove your tube. And tube was cleaned, checked out, and reinstalled. There we go. So there we go on that. That's just the tube section. Here's your lovely deflection board. This is again a cap kit. Not a lot of photos here. I've done this cap kit like 3 or 4 times on the channel on live streams. But it's all these capacitors in this block, deflection block here. There's some in this block too. Just place those. There's all the bad old caps. And you could tell, even when you look at Sony's caps, these are all different brands here. You'll get everything from Rubicons, like this is a Rubicon. These gray ones are Nishikans. You'll get Elnas, and you'll get Jamicons. How about Jamicons? I don't even use Jamicons. So, even the manufacturers of this stuff were not married to a single parts manufacturer for everything. Just to look at these pads, I will tell you that this is a tricky board to work on. It really does require a lot of experience. It's one that can be easily messed up because there's a lot of tracing on this board that does double side stuff. For example, like you'll have a via here that'll go up somewhere to a component, and then on the other side it might do something different, go to a different component. It's easy to burn a trace or pull a component when you don't have all the solder molten too early. Too early, and you'll pull a via straight out of the hole and you'll rip this trace, and it's like, oh, screw me. And then there's these tight lines where you'll have some that need to be replaced as part of the cap kit, some that aren't. And there you go. New caps installed, different brands. For example, there's a Nishikan on top. Nishikan, Worth. Can't remember what these are, but these are maybe Nishikans too. It's good stuff. Rubicon. Just depends on the size of the cap. Panasonic. That's a Panasonic one right there. Right there. That black and white one. There's the board after. Again, you get some solder reworking, cleaning. That's it. That's all. That's all the boards, right? Nope. That's just the deflection board. We got this neck board. Neck board with a little bit more parts in it. We got 4 capacitors here to install. And people might ask, you know, it's different depending on the monitor, but you can tell we have a cable right here on this left side of your screen. It goes into the flyback transformer. Like there's a little spot on there. Probably will show you in the next picture. Actually, it's like a breakout from the flyback that has a focus controller on it. This plugs into that. You can just slip this out and off instead of messing with all this hardware and trying to remove something. But all that stuff, that's how you get that board out safely like that on this monitor. And there's a photo of the underside after we've replaced the capacitors. Now the good thing is if you ever have an issue with your like reworking and you make pictures like this, you can easily come in here. Like if I was, for example, concerned about a board saying, oh, could I have accidentally put a capacitor in the wrong way? Well, I can come in here and verify what orientation they're all set in and if that's the correct orientation. Always talking caps. There we go. So there you go. It's similar to the other one. You can tell we had to reflow solder on this. All this. Everything. Standard procedure on the neck board. Even a newer one like this. You know, the only way to find replacement tubes is pretty much get a busted one. So it's not a hard tube to replace. Usually if you find a busted one, 13 inches you can find. Based on broken monitors. You buy a parts monitor off eBay or something. But you're always taking a risk without testing it, if knowing it has the tube burn or not. So there you go. Just another look at that solder reflow, rework, blah, blah, blah. Lovely, lovely solder blobs. Lovely stuff there. Cleaned up. I don't see any residue. Looks like I did better than the factory on this one. All right. That's the neck board servicing. And last one. The power supply. This is a really high-end, nice board. Really well designed by Sony. These caps tend to last a long time in this one. And it does a stable job. Now, what doesn't last long, or what fails generally, are these transistors right in here. These transistors will short. There's like 7 to 10 transistors on this. So it's really, that's more problematic than the caps. But preventative maintenance tells us to go in here and replace certain capacitors here. And that is what was done. Solder was reflowed. Let's look back here. Yeah, see, there's my tray. And if you look here, we have a smorgasbord of different capacitors, right? There's Rubicon, Nishikon, United Chemicon, all kinds of good stuff. Solder reflowing on this board. Hey, Belmont, welcome back. More solder reflow pictures, and I think it's just going to be pictures again of QC past caps or newly installed capacitors. So that's it. That's all our boards. That's our CRT that was installed. And that was the whole part of the labor. Oh, I thought, now, definitely no different pictures. Super Metroid's back. Gosh. Marco, hey. A guy was looking for repair for a Sony Trinitron HD 53215. Goodness gracious, what size is that thing? Anyway, Metroid pictures, baby. Let's do it. Let's show it off. Here's a look at the back of the monitor, cleaned up. Cleaning all this, like, super clean. Picture of the anode cap. Look how many conversion strips are on this tube. Oh my, there's the yoke. There's a little GA power supply daughter board that sometimes you need to take a look at. It's on the side. It's a cable connection, a couple of fuses on it. It's up here, so you can follow that down, and it goes under, and it connects over here to your input board through the cabling in the middle. This is the rest of the cabling all installed. Lovely. There you go. That's what the cabling should look like after. So Vincent, there are capacitor kits already published for some that are just preventative, and they're already documented, so you already have a certain level. And then I go through and I use tools and visual things, like checking visually to see what other services are needed. And I might recommend something to a client beyond what we had originally talked about. A lot of times it's like, hey, here's the cap kit. For me to do that on this certain monitor would be this much money. I get into it. I'm like, look, there's probably more caps if it's substantial. If it's just like 3 or 4 caps I find that are bad, I'd probably just replace them and not charge anything extra. But if it's like substantially more work, like another board I wasn't anticipating needing work, or really bad stuff, then we talk about more availability. But it's really just using meters, tools. Sometimes to get a good test on a component, you have to pull it from the board. I have testers that are supposed to work on components outside of, or while they're still in circuit, but I don't even trust those all the time. Hey, Master Safer, thanks for coming today. Steven Schneider, good to see you. Thanks for the question, Vincent. All right, fly back, and do you remember? Here's that junction. So this flyback has a connection point here, where if you have to remove all this stuff, you can disconnect it directly from the flyback. But it also has a connection point at that adjustment knob right here, where it adjusts your focus on this monitor. Stuffer, hey. Come on to what I'd love to do is have like a traveling thing where I go to conventions and work on CRTs. I'll try to get something like that organized eventually. And here's the inside. This is in like adjustment mode. That's why the power supply is expanded out like that. You can move that around a little bit. This is how the wiring should look after you work on it and reinstall everything. And there it is, right in our lovely shop. Adjusted. Not as perfect as the 14-inch. The 14 inches you can always get better than a 20-inch usually. Just the overall screen size, I just couldn't get like the corners perfect, you know? Like you'll notice these corners are, this line is straight across the top. Down the bottom, you always end up with like one drooping corner. No matter what you do, it just droops a little bit. Yeah, Master Safer, it actually is. Oh, FW900? That should be fixed in the software. You could try adjusting that in the software if you have an availability to use Windows. If you don't have a Windows availability, you may have to go in and start servicing it to try to get it to work better. Shouldn't have an issue like that. Unless the tube's really, really old. Yeah. Gimlod, I don't know. Sometimes it can, sometimes it can't. If you had like really low quality cables that were susceptible to interference, then yes. Thankfully, these were all built together and anticipated for that, so it's not an issue. All right, so here's just a close-up of the zones with my camera. Good convergence in this corner, see? But then good convergence. You might see this is our droopy corner. Convergence looks good, but the droopiness. And then I had like, sometimes you get a convergence issue at the bottom. And you saw how many convergence strips I put on that thing. It couldn't get any better. And convergence good, convergence good. This one's really sharp, really good looking. Look at that. You can really, really get in there and see I mean, the beam alignment isn't perfect, right? Look at the blue. Oh, green. Look at the blue and like the green. But this is like microscopic level. There you go. Nice bright screen of all the colors. Gradius. I have some different Gradius pictures. Yay! Not many though. Looks cool though. I love like how you can see it's just like lines. Pew pew. I can feel the slowdown starting to happen on the cartridge, right? Oh, back to Metroid. Yeah, I already did adjust all that. PO17, that was literally, and I did actually have to readjust the yoke. I always do that too. But there's a point with CRTs that, like a point of diminishing returns, where it's like you can't make it's literally in the manuals for these that you can't get them beyond like 97%. Just your standard photos. A lot of these a little bit different than the last ones. That's the same ones the last time. So that's it. Looks good. Another full treatment on that thing. Service notes here. Pretty much the same thing. Fully pre-testing, diagnosis, inspection, full disassembly, full cleaning, circuit boards maintained, boards work recapped, solder reflowed, cleaned, boards passed quality control, inspected and installed a replacement CRT. Actually, this one had a different. Okay. Adjusted calibration, monitor cleaned, bezel cleaned. So there's not really much different notes between this. I don't know what the resistance is on that yoke off the top of my head, Jackie. Plus, the bigger the PVM, bigger CRT gets, the edge, the last whatever, 2 to 5% of the edge is always a shit point. You're starting to get into not just the yoke, but you got to worry about the angle of the tube and the length of the neck. That really all factors into the mask on the front, or slot, whatever you're using. It's a lot of stuff, and the bigger just makes it more challenging. All right, so circle back around. This is the 1350. That is all 4 of the CRTs that were repaired from last week. That's a full chance for us to work through those, go through those again. Friends, remember, RWX, Retro World Expo. Hope to see some of you there in August. I really do. Gonna have a good time. And what I'm gonna do now is I'll sit here for a second, catch up on the chat. Everything looks good, and I'm gonna take a quick break, and I might find something else we can work on, but I do need a second to just go to the restroom, get some fresh water, you know, the usual stuff. Absolutely, Shane, great point. There's a lot of times where the external factors can affect your purity, and on a larger monitor it can be worse. A less shielded monitor, it can be way worse. You really need it. You know, that's the good thing about PVMs, are heavily shielded. And thank you, Belmont. So you can have those, even just the Earth's magnetism. You can have a CRT just rotate it, and it'll have issues with purity, where you'll have a bottom corner will turn green, and then you start turning it and it goes away. And if you keep turning it, all of a sudden the top corner turns green, the exact opposite corner. You keep turning it, it gets cleared again, and it's like showing you where it's getting positioned against the world. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's see. Still got the music rolling, I think. Let me check my headphones. I'm going to go to the restroom. I'm going to put up a let's see. Maybe I can add a source here. And let's add a... Let me write an image. Yes, east-west versus north-south makes a big difference. Good point, Keith. Absolutely. The north-south magnetism, I think it's probably worse than east-west, but I'm not sure. I'm not... There's certain things I only know by, like, experience, not, like, real-world education beyond just, like, again, the school of hard knocks, figuring things out, and it's almost like you come up with your own terminology sometimes for things that doesn't make sense. Hundreds. Elflover, F-L-E-F lover. Let me get these names right. Last time I was calling somebody something really bad, like pillow humper, pillow whacker, and it was pillow hacker. I'm the worst with names sometimes. Got CRTs on. Hey, maybe that's what we should do. How about that? Let's come back. We'll do some CRT shopping. See if we can find anything cool. That'll be fun. Let's do some live CRT shopping after we get back from my little break here. But before that, I'm gonna put together a note that says I'll be back in like 15 minutes. So let's get a paint. How about we do this one? Microsoft Paint 3D. No. And I'll be there. Just bear with me here for a second. Doo-doo. Let me give myself like 20 minutes for this break. I'm sorry if some of you guys are just hanging out. You can hang out in the chat. You can leave it running and come back. I'll have the jazz playlist going, and then I will I'll probably change it over to, if you guys have a request for a game by the time I get this little note done, let me know and I can put it on there. If it's on a Super Nintendo, pretty standard game. Just gonna put "We'll be back soon." You can put your requests in the chat, and I will 2, 3 see if we can get it played up. Yeah, the prices are getting pretty ridiculous on some stuff. I mean, insanity. So let me bring in a image and say okay, and we will browse. The good thing about starting with a fresh PC is there's so little files on it. Oh, but now I've got like shared files on here, so there we go. There's my little note. Well, look at that. How about that? Who says we don't have high quality graphics? Oh my gosh. Okay. See that? All right, I'm going to go with F-Zero. Someone said F-Zero first. Second, Earthworm Jim. Space Megaforce. Okay. Well, here's the thing. I got 2 for Earthworm Jim, and I'll just do that for now, and we'll try something else out later. But you guys have fun for a second. I will be back soon. I'm going to actually pull myself out of the picture, and I will leave. I will expand your view a little bit on this one, and we'll expand that. Look at that graphic, baby. High tech, aren't we? All right, folks, give me a minute, and I will be back. All right, everybody. Thank you. Waiting around, adjust things back to the way they were. And try to do some fun stuff here for a second after get rid of that image. Turn myself back on there. Move our camera down. Resize it. Earthworm Jim looked pretty good on there, actually, to be honest. Now, the problem is this camera, see right now, is super cheap. It's not very good. It won't go above 30 FPS. There's no zoom features on it. And I had a really nice camera, but that's what kept causing the crash. Again, I told people that. I don't know how. But anyway. All right. So as we sit here, we're going to get some stuff moved around on my other desktop. And I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I was intrigued by the idea of doing some shopping. And let's do that. This is great because this is a new computer, so not too many of my profiles are signed in on things like eBay, so I'd rather just search it on the screen without being signed into anything. So I'm just going to get a couple things ready. And we'll see if we can find under the for sale what we want. All right. Okay, look there. Of course, I don't think we'll be able to get into Facebook without being logged in, and so we might just have to skip that unless we just look at the marketplace. Oh, we can just search marketplace. Okay. Let me just change my location on here from there to. All right, I'm not going to go to. I'm going to go to the biggest city. I guess like near me, and that would be probably Washington, D.C. And then that's like 2 hours away from me. And I'm gonna go like 100, it's like 60-mile radius. No, that doesn't even get to me yet. My actual location doesn't even cover it if I do that. So let's go to Washington, D.C. Well, let me get a little bit closer. Let's do Charlottesville. That's closer to me. There we go. That'll cover me. Yes, let's do an 80 miles. 80-mile radius. We're going to apply that. And we'll get on here and start doing some shopping, everybody. So, let's switch off our Earthworm Jim view. Thank you for that that lovely whatever idea for the game there. Let me pull this up, expand the view a little bit. All right, so there we go. Don't really care about any of that other stuff, so I'm just trying to resize things so it's actually not. There we go. We're gonna start with everybody's favorite place, eBay. And we'll do this. Let's see. I'll show you here. I'm going to just type in the top here. Hey, everybody's favorite to start, which is not true because we just talked about that. Well, let's look up Sony PVMs, and here's what I like to look at it. I look at them so much I have to look at I have to look at them by time. So I just type in Sony PVM. Time newly listed. It says there's 234 search results. Some of these are new because I haven't seen any of these yet. They've just been posted. So look at this. This is a complete ripoff. $335 shipped for the 8040s. Which, if you don't know, an 8040 is it's nothing more than it's the S-Video composite video only monitor. Now this person actually knows what they're doing, but man, they're trying to make a bunch of money off this. Off these. Like, that's pretty high price for that. I'll admit. Over $300 for the 8040. Let's see, this is from 98. These are also prone to color failure. And you really have to know how to properly service that. So I would not assume these have been serviced. But we've done that servicing live here on the channel. Oh, excuse me. Gosh, sorry. I got some fizzy water here and it made me a little gassy. Yeah, this is a terrible... I'm assuming that this will sit like this for a while, this particular listing. Let's get away from it. There's another one, same thing. You make money. You sell PVM. And look at this. This is an even worse, older monitor. The 8020 doesn't even do S-Video. Nope. See? You can stick the tuner board in there. Dang. See, the thing that sucks is I've got some 8020s, but they don't have that tuner input, do they? Let me go grab my 8020. We're going to take a look at it. All right, so let's take a second here. Look, this is now I thought I was wrong. I'm sorry. This is an 8020. But the ones I have are the better monitor, I guess, because this is less features, and this is what I have. I have like 4 of these. These are 80, 20, 20, 80. Wait. See, this is listed as 8020 or is it 8220? 8020. Okay, mine's actually 8221. It's a little bit different. The one I have, sorry, I was looking at the picture here over on this page, and it looks like this one is an 8020, and I have the 8221. But you can see from the front of this thing the confusion I had, right? It looks almost the same. This is like a darker tube, super fine pitch, so it's got a better tube in it. And the thing that, looking at this, got me wondering is about this input back here. Right here. Sorry, right there. And I think it's where I can actually input this tuner box, which I bought for brand new, that I've never really been able to use. So let's see if that's a possibility here, because I just thought I bought this unit and I didn't have anything to plug in it, and I was going to have to make a custom cable. But that... This thing's new old stock. Check it out. So this is... That doesn't sound good. This is supposedly never used, right? I don't remember how much I paid for it. Gosh, I bought it for like 20 bucks off a junk lot on eBay or something. But it was all in its original box. And it's a channel tuner. So it gives you like RF tunability and an RF input on this box. But the problem is look at the only other connection ports. You got your RF cable, but right here, you just have this thing that says B+E video and audio. And damn, that's not even the right hookups. Son of a gun. That says like tally E. So that's just to run the tally light on the back of the monitor. Hot dog. Well, see, that got my hopes up, and it looks like I need this stupid... looks like I would need this 8020 to use my tuner. I thought we were going to get to see this thing used. Something's loose in there. Something's very loose, because I have the cable and everything. Anyway. Well... I even got my own hopes up there for no reason. So, silly me. I'll leave that and put that back later. I'm going to get rid of this PVM. Make sure none of my other ones are 8220s or have that input. Well, now, unfortunately, I do not have that. I do not have that monitor. I have a bunch of the other ones. So, all right. Well, it's still too much for that one. This isn't like mine. This is the 21. It says like it's a 9 to 21 ME, so it actually has another feature on it. Same input structure and everything, though. That's how the back of mine looks, except for it doesn't say ME. Probably has a different power supply. I don't know why anybody would block out the back information unless it has doxing. Like, I guess it has some contact information. Now look at this. Well, this really... Here's one. Now this is an auction, and somebody's got their camera sideways. Oh no. It's like there's something up with that picture tube. Probably just the pictures, though. And they've in Massachusetts, they got a sideways listing. Used, so not a lot of information, right? Just working listing. And I'm sure this one will probably sell because it's starting off at a decent price and they're offering shipping. Okay, but I don't know how much it'll sell for. We're gonna look at some sold listings here in a second to see what they've actually been going for, and I'll see if I can find some of the purchases I've made and show them to you. So here we go. Just going. I mean, look at this. Ugh. How ridiculous is this? $900 plus $85 to ship. Of course, it is from Japan. You're right. That's a Japanese listing. But good grief. 100 volts. This is like getting punched in the nuts, man. Just even looking at this listing. At least it's got a picture working. Ah. Do you imagine? Look at that board, too. Oh, that scares the hell out of me. Look at that curvature. Look at this thing. It's like... You telling me that that's not putting stress on that board? Unserviced. I don't even have the insanity to... I mean, I wouldn't imagine selling... I don't know how much like I'd sell my... This is more than I'd sell my serviced one for. And that one's serviced perfectly. All right. Oh, that's fun. Right? We're just getting our We're just supposed to getting our butts kicked here on these. Works great. Oh, $300 again for a damn 8040. Sorry, excuse my language. 14N1U and 5U. This is more than likely, yeah, not got RGB. So it's a good monitor, and it's modifiable if you know how to do that, according to a guide. Let's see, what year is this? Oh, it didn't give us the year. Let's see if we can see it from here. 2000. 2000. The year 2000. And at least you see it turned on, but goodness gracious. Let's see. I think people just accidentally watch this one. Gosh, are you looking at 350? No. Not doing that. Not me personally. Same thing with this one. This is going to be an N series that doesn't have RGB. So that's what you'll notice now. The PVM listings nowadays are just filled with non-RGB PVMs. Non-RGB PVMs. Okay. So this one does RGB, but not working. Not working. No pictures of it working. Condition. This unit is defective. It appears to power on, but there's no image. The front control buttons on the side do not light up. Selling as is for parts. So let's do some investigation here, okay? So, first off, let's look at the back here. The, can I zoom in? Can I zoom in? How do I zoom in? Zoom, here we go. Oh, that's not getting bigger. How did that work? All right, whatever. Man, I've got to get in closer. So, do you see there's controls right here, and I can't tell exactly. First off, look at this. It's got some weird mounting where it was mounted on something odd. And then they've zip tied the cable. Interesting. So if I'm looking back here, when they talk about the buttons not working, the first thing I would wonder is there's two switches right here where it says control, and the standard setting is for them to be on. But if this one right here that I'm pointing with my cursor at, if it's turned off, then the front buttons will not turn on. So if it powers on and the front buttons don't turn on, then it could just be a user error where they're using this wrong. They don't know how to get it turned on. But that's only if that switch is there. And I can't see that darn picture for the life of me. If it's... I wonder if I save this image and I open it in... like another program, if I can zoom in closer. Let's see. Let's try this. Let's go. This should be okay. So look, you see how, I was wrong. I was on the wrong side. I couldn't see it. So I'd first look here and I'd say, okay, is this switch on manual off? That would mean that you can't manually change any of the buttons. It's locked out. And that's so when there's things like in use at museums or exhibits, no one could go turn the buttons on and mess with anything on the front. So that's like a safety lockout mode. But it looks to me like that's in the on position. Both of those look like they're in the on position to me. So that tells me that there probably is a problem with this monitor where it's not powering on. And so it is, at this point, a just giant lottery ticket. Lottery ticket is all it is. Giant lottery ticket. Because you don't know what's going to happen with this thing. 4 parts. So even for the parts ones, it's got a bid where it's going to go for $260, $250 or more if someone else bids on it. $12.71 free local pickup. Gosh, wolf, I don't even want to look at that one. All right, this is one that I have personally been trying to bargain on, because this is like close. Guys, this is the closest one I found to one I would actually buy, okay? And I'm going to show you kind of some reasons why. All right, first off, it's in good shape, right? Let's look at the pictures. This is a 1354Q. Now, this monitor has a 600 line tube, and it has all the features you want in this PVM line. The only thing it doesn't have is a second RGB component input. That is on the best. The best from this series is the 1353. So this 1354Q is the second best. The best would be the 53, either ST or 53MD. Okay? And that is everything is pretty similar here, except you get an additional RGB and component input, so you have 2 of those inputs on your monitor. Now, back to this particular listing. If I'm looking at this picture right here, look at the menu down here. It definitely looks like there's going to be some adjustment issues. I can't really tell that too much though, because the Mr. Bean DVD actually looks pretty good. I like this picture because I could tell all the colors are in it, right? I can see some white, so I can tell it's probably not got screen burn. But we got Mr. Bean. He's in the correct, pretty close to correct color. I'm going to guess based on this tally or this light being engaged right down here, this is composite video. And it's a DVD player, right? DVD player. Now, this is going to be something very interesting. The extra good investigator in you and me will see something else lit up down here. So I'm going to call your attention to my cursor again near the power button. The power button is illuminated, but you'll also notice that the remote button down here is also illuminated. It is a yellowish, orangish button, and it is turned on. Okay, so keep that in mind as we look through this listing. Turned off, looks good. Bezel looks solid. You get the this one has the 600 TV line HR Trinitron tube. Tally light. Buttons, yes. See, line A is the one that was lit up. That is just your straight composite video. And then it looks like over here, check this out. We saw that this was lit up when it was turned on, right? Right there. That says remote, okay? And if you know what that means that when it's in that remote mode, it's locked out. So when it's locked out, it's going to give very limited menu adjustments available till you unlock it. It's only going to give you a couple things in the menu, and then when you adjust things like any of these knobs except for volume. You can use the volume, I'm pretty sure, but every other knob will not do a single thing. That's why when you look at this, look at the phase. If this was really phased all the way to purple, then Mr. Bean, his color would have been crazy. His color would have been purple, and he would have had no green, and it would have been looking bunk. It would have been way messed up. So he's actually, you know, you can tell that they've been screwing with the knobs, and they're not getting it to do anything. Shells in very good condition. It's always something to look for. All the screws, make sure they're the right screws. Those are the factory screws. Same thing back here. 4 screws, all factory. This is a mid-90s October. It says 95, 96, something like that. 95, right there. Next picture. Good model. This is like, I had a 1954Q as my very first PVM. I loved it. Oh, this is always a great shot. A lot of people don't put this shot down here, but this shows you if this base plate has any cracks in it. That usually will happen around here. You can see where it's starting to get pressure right there, build up, and that will probably crack one day. Especially if it's not shipped correctly. And one more picture. Okay. Let's go look at the listings. Power's on, video works, all ports work, sound works. Dials on front do not seem to work. It shows some signs of use and age, good cosmetic condition, as is, no returns, we recycle. So there they tell you that buttons don't seem to work, and that's because it's in remote mode and it's locked out. And this is a Chattanooga, Tennessee listing, and I got kind of pissed because I kept trying to negotiate, but I'm not paying this kind of money for this when it's just a little bit out of my price range. Now I will tell you, if you want to buy this, you can get this for about $400. If you offer $400 and you pay the $600 or $60 shipping, this person will sell it to you, because that's about how low I got it to before they just locked me out. They blocked me from making offers, which I didn't know you could do now. You could like block, I guess they send you, eBay's going through some transitions, stuff was acting weird. And this is a electronics reseller, obviously 5,200 feedback, not the perfect free feedback you'd love to see, but it's eBay guaranteed, baby. If it shows up broken, you don't have to pay for it. So if this guy, I tell you what my offer got up to. What did I go up to? $300 and I think $18 was my top offer before I was no longer allowed to make offers. So that would have put me with taxes right about $400, which is where I'd want to be on this monitor if I bought it. Let's close that, but that's been the best monitor listing so far, closest to buying. An N6 for $500 that does have RGB, but golly, I mean, this is like almost a TV. Like Sony just basically, this is barely a professional monitor. I understand if it's the only one you can get your hands on, but at that price, you'll be able to find, you'd be way better off buying this one over this one. Okay? Miles better. Now look, I'm intrigued by things like this, but this is a bit rough shape. $1,000. $1,000 for it. Again, smack me, call me Susie. I don't know what the heck to call this stuff. Like $1,000 on eBay for beat up. Look at that picture. What the heck? Another seller. This is in California, so for me it's a harder buy. Oh, but ships for free. And $1,000, 20M4U. That's still a good price. If it had the low, I mean, that's not unreasonable for some areas of the country at all. Ugh, gosh, other stuff. More N series. Look at them. They are just plentiful. Ugh. And then we get into like $1,100. I'm not even opening these. 20M2s, $1,200. Unserviced. Power's on. That's the listing. Power's on. Sitting on a pallet in my garage. I found it. I recycled it. Now you pay me $1,200 for it. That's what those three listings say right there. Guaranteed. Look, you can see, the only reason I'm looking at this, you can see the dude squatting there taking the pictures. Right? It's got a vacuum or something over here. It's got some other appliances, so. Gosh, just found them. The thing is, they're in great condition. I can tell. Look how nice that menu screen looks. Damn, this is just a travesty. Like if I cared, I would. If this person had 3 of them, where are they located? Again, California. See, You'll notice a lot of these are listed in California too, which is a plentiful land of PVMs. So there's a lot of competition for them to try to sell these. So I don't think that that's probably. I just don't see that actually happening. You know? At least they're offering shipping, and those are the cleanest ones we've seen so far. But as far as, gosh, $1,400 after taxes, you know, we're like really over budget. Here we got another 2030. Actually tested. Oklahoma. I know some people are going to say I'm crazy, but that's not a bad deal at all. If you're looking for this, $850, make an offer. You could get it shipped for $1,000. If I needed one, like if a museum was talking to me and said, I've got 2 of these in storage right now. If a museum called me and said, hey, we need to order 4 2030s, well, I'd go here and I'd buy this 2030 right away. And I'd pray that it was packed right. So I can't knock that price too much or anything. Now these kind of stink. They got parts only. Like this one has the black and white thing going on. Like I told you, it's not been serviced. Color loss. And gosh, that's a picture. What is that? Like Rudy Giuliani? From the frickin' 90s? What the hell do some people... Like, and look at this mess. Golly. Holy crap. I would say this is an easy pass. Holy... You guys seeing this rust build up? This thing must have been sitting in a puddle for 20 years. And it's the lowest model. It does do RGB though. Let's see, this one doesn't power on probably. Or they don't know how to... I was able to plug in another smeller. Got a green light on the standby, TV to sound. Okay, so this is one that was not tested like fully. They said they couldn't get an adapter to test it, which is understandable. Pretty good condition. You'd be much better off buying this one than the last one we looked at. But again, we're still looking at spending $250 on a whim, on a lottery ticket. That's what these people are asking for. Unserviced lottery tickets. Well, you can tell it's... Yeah, Rudy's hair dye got the rust going. Oh, baby. That guy is creepy looking. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. Now look at this. This is listed correctly, but man. Tested, yes. Balanced and color, and I doubt it. Do we have any pictures of not a, standard frickin' screen? This is now, look, positive number 1, May of 2002. This is darn near one of the last M2s. You might have found some in 2003, but not much after that. That's a good thing. Make an offer. California again. California. We'll be running in the midnight sun like an angel. Coming back to paradise. You know we're gonna shine. Alright, $750. Again, in the land of honey. Milk and honey for CRTs is, not distinguishable enough to sell. Anyway, at least that one's in good shape. Now look at this bad boy. Not exactly one I'd look for. A 1910. This is a very old model. Give me 1 second. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Let's see what we got. So we got just the line A. We got some composite video. Oh, look, I like this picture. Somebody's put their... What is up with the weird political listings, right? Well, let's just see. Let me see. Hang on. I want to see what what the date is on this website image, if I can find that out. This New York Times article. And as we just saw, I couldn't get that to pull up. Couldn't get that to pull up, but we'll do this. What was it? We'll do date. There we go. Oh, this is blurry. I don't know. Yeah, that's not going to happen, is it? Well, sorry to waste your time. Unless you want to check out... I mean, that's obviously Biden, so yeah, it is a more recent picture. Sometimes you never can tell. Somebody put a picture from damn Bill Clinton era on that screen. But again, it's funny, like, what are we running into with, like, it's not easy to get this darn signal put into this monitor. And like, oh, well, let's just pull up the homepage of the New York Times on the PVM while we list it for sale. That'll be a good idea. And, you know, I wonder if it's the same seller who's, like, putting up Rudy Giuliani and it's, like, weird subliminal secrets being shared through eBay. Stupid. 80-20. I mean, shit. Sorry for my language, folks. But let's face it, this is all garbage. Like, we're about to be done with all the July listings. It's garbage. 80-20, 9L2s. Now, these 9L2s are fun. They're nice. But $300 plus $400. A 14L5 for $1,500. Two 9L2s for $850. None of this stuff is like palatable. I have looked at this one. It's got some damage to it, $499, but you can see again, damaged, vital damage, right? The bezel. Gosh. Holy crap. $96. So there's a good range for you. Look at this. You got this one from $96. Now this one actually looks pretty good in the pictures and stuff. It's a gamer's, so I understand. I'm trying to get it rid of it. It's not a bad price. It's a good price, but again, it's got damage. It sucks, right? Well, Dancing with the Stars. This lunatic. Oh yeah, Maxim Smirkovsky. And who, oh gosh, what the hell was that girl's name? So my wife, yeah, she used to watch the crap out of this stuff. This is like, somebody grab a DVD, we'll play it. And it gets the Latin cardio dance workout video. Now these would be nice if it was the 90 model, but this is the 1380 model. And that means we do only get, where's the back? Show me that sexy input. There you go. You get two composites and a VTR, which is a dead composite input. Oh, gosh, this is junk, man. Nothing. Oh. This is another 9L2 for too much money. Look at these pictures. I've just got to see what these pictures are. Again, you're smoking crack, bro. 80-40 for $300, 0 bids. Oh, wait. This says it's been refurbished. Hang on. Maybe. Let's see what they claim to have refurbished. This item has been restored to working order by the eBay seller or a third party. Golly, are we getting into some stuff here? Let's see. Oh, where's my description? It's listed as refurbished. Just it says Sony Trinitron works fine. No use for it. Pay me my money. Like, what What is this? What is this picture, bro? Some Snapchat dude. Oh man, my Snapchat notifications, bro. I don't care. I'm gonna put them on the eBay listing anyway. Oh yeah. Yeah, it works. Trust me, man. Actually, it's not even the right model. This guy. It's the RGB model. What model actually is? Look at this. I can't even read. Is this a scam? This is a scam. This is an 8440. 84, not 8444, 844, 8044 Q. So it is the best of the best. This is, if this really was seller refurbished, it would be a good deal. But you can't, look at those battery bays, bro. It looks like you've been smoking bong rips and just like exhale, like shotgunning a doobie right into the back of your PVM for 15 years. So this is like definitely a DK Oldies level restoration. We can give them that much. All right. Gosh, these are like the gifts that keep giving. Church owned. Here we go. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Whoa. We'll save you. Oh, man. Somebody was not gentle removing this one. Scrape that front up. I just really like these 1354Qs. They're the only thing that's coming around at a reasonable price. They're just $100 too much, usually. $500. This is a little bit more, I mean, not even $100 too much. This one's $200 too much. Let's see, what do they say? This one's actually Franklin, Tennessee, which is close to where I used to live in Tennessee. Church gear. Man. So if you're in the church and you go get into the, the AV department, see if they got any of this stuff hanging around now. All right. More 8220s. Well, I'm not even going to waste our time looking at that. Hey, here's a 1350. Let's see this 2530. $1,100. What do you think? California? Dang! California. So churches made their own. Of course, think about churches had video production, right? They would make their sermons and usually put them on cassette tapes, even all the way back in the 90s, and DVDs, choir DVDs, missions DVDs, anything that was made like that. They probably had somebody in the church that worked that did all that, right? And they would use a PVM. That's it. They had PVMs. They had a professional setup, just like, yeah, Travis, maybe sometime. Man, I've had so many stupid other things to do. And then problems, like I've been running in the mud with these streaming PCs. So look at this. This is a $1,100 monitor, but at least it's a 2530. But I have such a hate relationship with 2530. It says it's excellent condition. See, because it's so old and it has that darn flyback problem. 1987. I hate that. Oh. And it says it's been cleaned out, opened up. Not really much else done to it, but at least it's a gamer's monitor. It's not a bad price, but it's in the land of milk and honey. So we ain't finding it. Oh, here's a 1350, just like the one I have been using, like this one right here. It's right there. And let's go back to the dashboard and see. This one's not bad. I bet that's just a lot of like debris, because it looks like it's in a moving truck. U-Haul blankets everywhere. See what year is this one from? 96. Yeah, it's about the same. Pretty clean. And it's in California. Gosh, so many in California. It came from a working environment. Oh, that doesn't sound confident. I don't have confidence in that, although it is on my watch list. I've watched it not sell about 4 or 5 times. All right, I think we're getting down here where it's just garbanzo beans. Not going to be anything like they're at now. We're all the way into darn. What is this? We go from a July listing all the way to March, June. Okay. Let's look over real quickly and see what's sold recently. And then I'm going to show you some of the other key things I like to do. So first off, I like to put in certain numbers like 29. See, this didn't show up at all. And I don't understand why this hasn't sold, right? Look at this one. It says it works. And California. So for California, you can get like anything you want for $1,000. Like if I had this nearby and it says it worked, I would buy it for $1,000. Right now, I'd buy it for $1,000. It's not been serviced, obviously. But this is such an incredible CRT. This is one of the best ones Sony ever made in a large format. And 1998 is the date on that. Oh, I love this CRT. I used to have one. And I sold it to a museum. So you could type in numbers and make other ones show up that don't normally show up, right? 13. Let's see if anything 13 shows up. Man, this is the stupid ones we've already seen. This one right here is just a black and white security monitor. Nothing special. $700 for a 1342Q. Forget it. We'll put in... So you can do that. You can put 19. Sometimes the 19s don't want to show up. Like here's a 1954Q that we didn't get to see. I don't think it has a great screen on it, but again, at least the price isn't as crazy as the others. Not shipping. It's in New Jersey. It's not in... Now, these people sell a lot of them. Slight geometry issue. Okay. That's it. Slight geometry issue. Just needs a recap and calibration. I think this might be the best darn deal on eBay right now for that. PVMs. Because the rest of this stuff is just out of control. Same monitor right here. Buy it now for $2,400. Okay. So we're running into dead ends. But I knew that $2,950 would show up and had not shown up before. So the other thing we can do is let's just take a quick look at what has sold, right? I think we get down here, sold items. Doesn't mean it's really sold, but here we go. Ended recently. Someone got a great deal here, right? Look at this one. This is in Park City, Utah. Ski country. If you love to go skiing. And it's not from a reseller. Or not a big time reseller. Professional monitor. Standard inputs. Right now I do not have a box to ship. If you're interested, we can work out shipping. Wow, so somebody might have gotten shipping on this. Let's look a little bit deeper. What was it? It was just a straight up. Somebody probably in Utah picked it up. Nice one. Nice deal. $600. I mean, if that was here like in my city, like within 20 minutes drive, I would definitely buy it. $600 for a 20-inch. 2005, baby. Why aren't any of mine showing up? I bought some. Anyway, yes, it's hard to get a good grip on. Oh, because I got 19 right there. 2005 though, June 4th, $1,200. That is a good deal. In 2023. Let's try that. See what else shows up. Should show some more. There we go. 14M2. Ooh, that's a good price. That just ended. Look at that. $500. $505 roughly. Save on Pat Gear selling $500 for 1442Q from Jordan. Oh, I mean, really? Did someone really buy this? Why is it giving me this January 10th sales data? 8040. Somebody paid $200 for an 8040. Oh, gosh. Why did you do this? Who did it? Who actually bought? Who did it? You need to fess up right now. Which one of you did it? Who bought the minty fresh 8040 for $225? Oh my gosh, this is close to me. Virginia. It's in my state. Surplus. Oh my goodness. And then they give me another funny computer background. I don't know how they got all the hookups for this stuff. There's a black and white one. These prices, man. The parts only. Look at this. It's got the wings out. Wingtips. Like the Flying Nun. 14L2. Woo! See, this is what I'm talking about. Man, I missed this one. I'd have bought this. Connecticut, baby. Nice bright screen, fully working, very clean. Good deal. $390. Under 400, 400 with tax. That's in the wheelhouse all day. 14L2. Goodness. 9L2. I knew this one was going to sell because it just kept dropping in price. It was on my watch list. I just don't like this monitor. Just don't like it at all. This D9 BVM 360 though, you can't argue that's a good price on it. Oh, I saw this one too, but was not in my area. $650 for a 20L2. Another great deal. Hey, Aka. AKA Wabajack. We've got an N5 that somebody accidentally bought. I wonder if they returned that because they realized it doesn't do what they want. All these N's and L's and not, oh my goodness, not RGB monitors. I don't know if somebody's modding these. Otherwise, I don't know why you'd buy it. Black and white. There's got to be a reason for that. Now that's got burn in it, it says. A lot of sales happening though. Look at this. I saw these and I thought they would sell too. These 14L5s that were listed for $1,000. One of them had some dings in it, but one of them looks pretty clean. Oh, come on. Who did this too? Who bought this $600 5041Q? 14M2U inbox. $1,000. Is it really in the original box? It's definitely a gamer, right? Bada bing, bada boom. Don't tell me you don't play games. Don't tell me you don't play games. What we got there? Got the whole shebang. Where's the box? I came for the box, baby. Oh man, that's a nice box. Somebody had box envy. That's what that's all about. $8040. $240. 14M2. Look at this is a good deal. Actually, this might be one. No, I didn't. That's not one I bought. I mean, my sales, the ones I bought, are not showing up. Look at this. Somebody got a 1405 for $750 this month. It's a great deal. $750. Best offer. I wonder if they got a best offer and got it lower. 1354Q 400 best offer or buy it now. Here's another church one. But see, that's been relisted, right? So that was obviously not bought. We saw that one relisted. I wonder if I bought this one. I think this might be the one I bought that showed up cracked. Oh, goodness. 8040. I mean, this is a good deal. Well, decent deal if they get a best offer too. 2530 for $600. So you can see what they're kind of selling for, right? There's nothing crazy selling. They're all selling for, it's the same kind of models. And that one got up to 2530 got up to $510 in bids. It's not very much. Someone here made a good listing and they got $1,000 for their bids on that one. Got a little bid frenzy there. You just notice that occasionally, about once every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a really good listing shows up and sells. Look at this. This is something. This is one we haven't seen very often. From Dowling, California. Man, I used to sell these for like $400 because nobody wanted them. And now you at least see this guy put a Walter White thing on here. I think I've got like a tube with 600 hours on it, and I've got all the boards in it. Does this come with any boards? Let's see. So, man, that's still a high price. It doesn't come with the RGB board. What you get is a composite and S-Video board right here. So you got composite S-Video and HD SDI and SDI. And then right here you would essentially put in your clone card for the 68X. And if you go over here, and actually that monitors. Gosh, $1,402 for $2,000 in a box. New. Woo! I don't believe this sold at all. Somebody's be smoking crack again. No way. No. You're crazy. Didn't happen. Don't believe it. Oh, look. This might be the one I bought. June 14th. I don't know. Was it? Baton Rouge, Louisiana? Let's see. Let's look at the original listing. I may have... Oh, it had a two-stalker. I don't know. To be honest with you, this may be the one I bought that we fixed. No, this isn't, because this one works. The one I bought didn't power on, or didn't have pictures of it powered on. I'm sorry. Definitely not it. So there's still some slipping through the cracks that we're not seeing. Let's try to find the 1350 I bought it. I mean, I bought it recently. And it's not here. It's not showing up. Maybe they had it labeled wrong or something, but I don't know. I'm not going to log into my account and do that. Hey, Matthew. Tube broken. Gosh, stuffer, that sucks. Yeah, you could see from my videos how many show up busted. I went and looked back. I think I bought 9 PVMs so far in 2023. All that's eBay purchases, and at least there's about a 50-50 rate right now on making it and not making it. But it's most of the time it goes lower than that. The actual rate, it sucks. So much stuff getting wasted. And I'm willing to communicate with people and do things the right way. But you know how that goes. All right, guys. Let's see if there's anything else worth checking out here. It's been a long stream, about 3 hours. I wanted to give this good test today. We'll do a quick rundown, see if we can find anything on these other platforms before we get out of here, because that should be a lot quicker. Let's switch over here to our local Craigslist, see if we have any. Just see what happens when you type in PVM. No results. How about Trinitron? Hey, results. Ooh. Now this is going to be what we're looking at nowadays. Look at this one. I like that. Look at that one. Oh, baby. Show me your secrets. I doubt it turns on. Oh, it does turn on. Where is this? Worked well as a TV, but has been sitting for years in a temperature controlled environment. Gosh, this is a lot of info. Much? $150. Doggone it. Alright. Well, that's in Philadelphia too. Man, it's giving me stuff. 0, it says locally. It's Philadelphia. I'm getting freaking Philadelphia stuff. Even all the way to Philly, they're not finding anything listed on this website. All right, gotta go like old TV style. There's a wall mount. Zenith 36-inch. Golly, talk about a backbreaker. Oh yeah, now that's what I'm talking about. Show me that sexy bubble. Please move this from my house. Actually, this one has... This is probably one of those really sharp tubes, too, that you could use in the most massive arcade machine if you had to. Gosh, just nothing. Absolutely nothing. Is it Emerson or the Dynex? Emerson! Do I think a D815 or 14 D14 the clone is a good deal? Sure, yeah, that's a good deal. That monitor, if it works, sure, because that one does progressive, so you can go up into 1080i with that kind of a setup. Norgan, that's an incredible deal. 225. Gosh, I remember the good old days when I got my first huge load of CRTs, and I was thinking, what the heck am I doing? No one's gonna buy all these PVMs. I was like, I've got 10 of them, and no one's gonna want one of these things. I've made myself stuck. It's like Scranton. I mean, we get nothing. We got a freaking guinea pig here. The AI on Craigslist is just rubbish. No wonder nobody uses this platform anymore. Okay. Thank you, Craigslist. Let's try old TV first in this one. This is closer. Stanton. All right, Charlottesville, yes. But it's just old. These are my kind of prices, though, baby. This is right in my backyard. Let's see what this is. Oh, come on. Are you going to just not show me it? Sharp, flatty. Not much info. Freebie, though. Let's see, this one got... We had a blurry focus, man. Can't tell what that Sylvania's got. We got old Woody. And old Woody here. Gosh, this picture, man. Look at this creepy doll stuff. Looks like my basement. This is an original owner. Gosh, it's got that nice RCA tube. See, this is the kind you almost want. You have to go pick this son of a gun out. We're in Craigsville. Oh, yep. Know where Craigsville is. Oh, let's see. Anything fun here? There's some fun stuff. Timberville, this is close. This is a freebie Zenith. So you can get your rocks off on a CRT and get one for free if you really want one. Still, now it's not going to be great. And look, this is a decent thing to get, right? Well, $50. I don't. Ooh, I like the wood grain on there. You know, this one is a very good opportunity also, though, to be a usable for an arcade machine if you happen to have the same type tube sized machine. That's a great candidate. Look at this one. What size is this? This is another one that could be, gosh, 2067. I think it's another 20-inch one. But I'd go with something like this, right? I think it's 20-incher. Look at it balancing it on a plastic garbage can. Good grief. I am not buying any guinea pigs. No way. My sister had guinea pigs. They were insane. That's what I say, Koa. If you find the right size tube, you got to buy this. You got, like, I would buy this if it was a 27-incher because it would be usable. 25 to 27 inch is pretty much the size. Look at this. Ooh, how about this? How about this lovely thing? $200. Dog, look at this beautiful. 87. That's it. Oh, that's a monster. Look at the size of that television. Look at the size of that sucker. It's a 27-inch. What is all that stuff under it? So that whole piece of furniture is... Gosh, I just love this one, don't you? That one would not go in an arcade machine because it's the wrong type of tube. But man, oh, look at the old lady. She's taking a picture of it. Damn, that thing. Look, original owner. Still works great. Original owner. Snap. Man, that thing's beautiful. Oh my goodness. Stop. I gotta stop looking at this thing or I'm gonna go get it. How far away is Stafford, Virginia? Hang on a second. I guess we can look at this map, right? Oh, what does all this say? Oh, this is like, here, let me show you. This is how far. Almost the DC distance. So, and there's no like direct path, right? I'd have to go through this out in the country. So this would definitely be a 2 hour each way ride, more likely. Damn, that's a hard sell. That's a hard thing to pass up and a hard thing to do. Here's another one. Someone trying to drop a $80 boy. Look at, they're getting a ton of information from these people on their TVs. Goodness, that thing has not been moved in forever. Look at all the nastiness built up on that sucker. Yuck. Like, if I was going to list something like this, even in my house, and ask $80, I would at least clean these nasty ass cobwebs off it. And like looking back here, it's like, ugh, gross, man. I'd be embarrassed. Man, I really want to go get that damn thing. Look at this, another. Oh. Look at this. God, look at this crazy son of a bitch. TV, pet, dog, cat. I know it still works, LOL. Just hoping someone can use it for making a pet bed or other craft. Come on, man. Oh my word. Look at this. It's like... He's like either the Mummy super fan or loves Earth, Wind, and Fire or loves... what's this? Anubis? I can't even remember. The dog. Anyway. Fun stuff here. Like, what is... Golly, look at that floor. Art Deco. What a psychopath. I do not want to turn your thing into a cat bed. If it still works, too. Now, that's a little creepy. I wouldn't go into that other place, but I would have gone to the first lady's house. That's all the flavor is. Here's one full of flavor then. Oh, 2 different shots. Thanks for the shots. It's cool, but no need for this stuff, really. No use for it, personally. That's a little out of my wheelhouse. I don't go back that far. The solid state TVs. All right, where are we now? Sears Portable. We're gonna try some other things. We're getting some more stuff at least on this thing. Oh, for a second there, I was like, wait a second. There's not even an input cable on this TV because I thought that was the power. Look at that barren input board. Goodness gracious. That's like the barren wasteland of CRT. There has to be like 15 components on that board in there. Yeah, Shango, he's the expert on the older stuff, man. And that stuff, I'm afraid I'd actually shock myself on some of those older things. They're a little bit more wily. All right, we're out of old TVs. Let's go and see what it says about. So let's just see what happens when I type in Sony PVM. Not a PVM, just the same. Gosh, get out of my life. I'm gonna have to block that lady so I don't buy it. Let's try Trinitron. Gateway. We got a Sanyo. That's a Sanyo, not a Trinitron, dude. This is a Vivatron. Not Trinitron, right? Or is it a Trinitron? I don't know. This is one of the older ones. Gateway 2000. Oh, wow. Look at this. Hey. See, this is the thing. You'll see some areas have a lot of stuff listed. Look at this. This is a lovely lot. Look at that. Each at $30. Woo! If I was in Ohio, baby. Take me to Ohio. Oh, that Panasonic would be mine. Oh, I've got one of these, I think. No, it's not RCA. Mine's Magnavox. It's in my storage unit. That's what I do, is just fill my storage unit up with more of this stuff. I love these. Sylvania. Nice little thing there. I'd take the Panasonic. Alright. Tier list these things. I'd probably take Sylvania one. I'd take these 3 in the front, right here. And I would make a deal, probably like $70. I'd say, give me one of these for $70. Outside my area, there's a lot of good looking. Ooh, look at this. West Virginia, Mountain Mama. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, free box TVs in stock. This one looks like it's been out here getting gravel kicked on it for... Look at that. Look at that. Some poor retro gamer is shedding a tear right now checking out this. I mean, that's a Trinitron down there. That's the big widescreen. Big widescreen one. Wow. Well, as much as I'd love to sit here and do this all day, I think I'm going to call it a day, fellas. I really appreciate you. Some of you guys have been here all day. And thanks again, everybody. This has been really fun. Just going through stuff, getting a chance to test the streaming gear. If you want to go back and check out the first half, you can check out the 4 restorations we went through that happened last week in the shop. And then we've just been CRT shopping for the last hour here. So it's pretty fun. I'm going to continue to work on the system, and hopefully I'll be able to stream with you in a couple days from now. So anyway, thanks again, everybody. Again, if you haven't already, please do me a favor, hit the like button. That way people know the